Why are boundaries so hard to set? Welcome to part two of our interview with Angela Barnes. Let's jump back into it. Angela, I'd love to see if we could role play some of these scenarios and see how you would navigate these conversations and these relationships, if that's okay with you.
Yes, it's my favorite thing to do 'cause it prepares people.
Yeah. So let's do this example that we had talked about previously. And so this first scenario we'll go through is I'll be the board chair and you'll be the fundraiser. And so for all of our listeners, we know that not everybody here is a fundraiser. You're not listening to this just because you're a fundraiser, but I think it's the same issue is that I'm requesting, or maybe I'm insisting in a very strong way that we need to do something. And it's not within our scope or it may not make sense. So essentially, how do you push back and how do you set that boundary?
Sure.
All right.
Mhm.
So, hey, Angela, thanks for chatting today.
Absolutely. It's always a great time to get together with you, Chris, and thank you for your service on the board. You've
I
been amazing
appreciate
work.
that. I'm trying my best. And I know that our annual campaign is coming up and I've been really on Instagram lately. I know everybody's on TikTok. I'm still on Instagram,
Oh, boy.
but I've been seeing a lot of social media crowdfunding. I've seen a lot of working with influencers and so like especially that's because these young organizations are doing that and they're making a lot of traction. So
Mhm.
I'd love to have us do that, and I think it's going to be worth our time if we focus on that.
Well, Chris, but first of all, thank you for noticing the trends and bringing them to our attention because we need more board members involved the way that you are and want to help us become the best fundraising team that we can become. Um, I know that last year you were part of that team that helped us put together the development strategic plan for this fiscal year. And then we
Hmm.
had 3 buckets, 3 areas that we were hitting home on, and you were really adamant about that last one, which was individual
Yeah.
donors. So this would make sense for that. Within those buckets, we had individual donors, we had, securing more grants, which is a little difficult right now from a federal standpoint, but from
Yep.
community foundations, we're doing quite well. And then increasing our visibility. So those are the 3 buckets. In those 3 buckets, Chris, I remember you laid out um, that we needed to have 3 to 4 elements in each of those buckets that would help us put as much funding into those buckets as possible.
Hmm.
And right now, we are 50% done with this strategic plan for fiscal year, and we're in really great shape, and we're gonna keep humming along. I would love to look at, first of all, crowdfunding to see how that plays in for the next fiscal year, and with your permission, continue working along the lines of the plan that we have in for right now. So we could do this for fiscal year 2020, 2027, 2026, 2027. And then 2, I would love if you and I could partner on seeing the impact that crowdfunding has had
Mm.
on organizations. I've read some things that, crowdfunding is more for the masses, whereas you were pretty adamant last year, or board member Sheila was pretty adamant last year that we make our fundraising, especially in the individual bucket, more customized, that we have more one-on-one
Mm.
meetings, that if we're going to have a gala, that we're sitting there like the devil wears Prada and Anne Hathaway's character is standing behind Meryl Streep with a dossier telling her the name of each person walking in that door, and that we're greeting them, and that we're
Yeah.
making sure we're collecting all of their data, such as their emails and their names and their preferences. And that if we've invited 200 people, we expect to see 100 back next year. So I want to make sure that crowdfunding really aligns with the individual donor lane that we've set ourselves in. Can we commit to this, Chris, to work on this for the upcoming year? We're gonna talk about the next fiscal year in 2 months. I would love for you to come to our next meeting on the development committee with something on crowdfunding, and I'd be happy to work with that on you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. I think I would love to I'd love to explore it. I think it's a good direction. Um, especially because everybody's just on social media these days. So I think it's a good way to get everybody. So yeah, I'm happy to dive into that.
Okay, so let's reverse that, Chris. Let's try it again. I wanna show you what it looks like when you're talking to a, fundraising specialist, leader, CDO who is a people pleaser. So let's try it again.
Yeah, let's try that again. Okay. Angela, thanks for chatting. Listen,
Anytime.
I I've been on social media more. I've been on Instagram, not TikTok.
Mhm.
But I've been seeing a lot of people, a lot of young organizations, nonprofits make real good headway with crowdfunding and social media and using influencers. And
Yeah.
I think we should head in that direction.
What? That's an awesome idea. I'm not sure what crowdfunding is, but I trust you, and I think if other organizations are doing it, why shouldn't we apply it to our house? What were your
Yeah.
thoughts on this?
I think I think you have a good sense of how to make things happen. You're good at it. So I was gonna hand it off to you and um, let's hit our goals. Let's make it happen.
Okay, we really haven't set our goals yet, so this is great. I guess we could include it in there. I've got some people who they're a little overworked, but I think one more thing on their plate, Chris, is not gonna we just really wanna make sure that our board members are happy and that they feel included and that you guys are happy. That's our
Yeah.
main goal.
And
Um
listen, I don't want to overwork your people. I just think that
Oh,
this will
no,
help
no,
save them time
Chris, it's
later
not a
on by
problem.
doing other things.
Listen, we're here to serve. It's not a problem.
Okay.
You know, we could all do a little more. We could all uh, pick it up in areas. So I know that Melissa, she's going on maternity leave in a month, but I'll see if she can have a full report for you before she goes along with everything else. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
All right. Okay.
Awesome. Before we debrief, I wanted to, the way you just responded reminded me of I saw on social media, Instagram, somebody posted a letter from an email from their boss saying, "Hey, I've just heard about Taylor Swift. Like, can we get Taylor Swift to sponsor some of our stuff?"
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It was such a
Absolutely. Let me
random
get on it.
request.
Let me get ready to disappoint you that she's never answering that email. Okay.
Angela, I thought it was fantastic the way you handled that first one, especially because it was such a polite way of saying no without physically saying no to me
Hmm.
and saying, let's explore that idea and make
Yeah.
it happen.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
But why don't you talk through kind of your approach and how you viewed it, especially from the second way, which was the people pleasing, let me just do everything, versus the first way, which was let's set that boundary, let's be intentional about this.
I don't know if you saw it, Lucy, but he even looked shocked, like, "I don't wanna overwork your team." I'm like, "Well, she's going on maternity leave, don't worry." You're like, "My God." I'm like so, um, they were hit with a lawsuit, you know? Um, One of the things I wanna stress is that board members are not bad people. Like everything in life, they require boundaries and managing. One of the first fiscal year development strategic plans I put together was out of necessity because I had a board when I was in an interim role for a couple of years. I had a board that would hit me with ideas every other day, every other day.
Hmm.
So for that, I started gathering them and I sat down and did exactly as I said in that role play. And Lucy, I started collaborating with people to see what are our top three priorities. So I started testing them before I even knew how to test. And then I put those top 3 priorities. So what resources, support, and funding? You'll hear me say that a lot. Resources, support, and funding are how development people carry out or are able to get to the goal. Without that, we start getting into IUI, which is I'm gonna carry out the goal, but it's gonna be illegal, unethical, or impossible. I'm just gonna tell you
Hmm.
that. So, when I'm able to put those 3 to 4 buckets and I put together the plan, and I've gotten everybody's buy-in. Leadership that is paid and volunteer, other team members, even programming. Weigh in on this. Let's get on this. That's the document of the year. That's the only thing that all you have to do is hold that up or say, on page
Hmm.
3, we said that there was that bucket. What I am gently implying is that people will follow a plan if it's in place. A plan's not in place when they're hitting you with a lot of weird ideas.
Hmm.
If the plan is in place, some people have collaborated on the plan. They started bragging about the plan because they're proud of it. And then all you have to do is repeat the plan throughout the year. Chris, we're almost there. We're almost at our $2 million goal. What? Okay, we'll put that on the back burner for next year. Okay, you sure? Because we're okay. We're almost there. Or, I've been meaning
Mm,
to talk to you, Chris, because we're not at the milestone we thought we would be by this date, August 19th, 2025. Um, I'm not sure if crowdfunding is what we need to do, or if we just really need to double down on the plan.
mm.
So the plan becomes the bad guy, not you.
Hmm.
It's a great way to externalize that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if people are not clear or are struggling with boundaries or overwork, maybe they should really look, do we have a plan? Do we have a clarity about our goal and how we are going to get there?
Absolutely, Lucy. All leaders have a plan. I keep plan A, B, and C in my back pocket. You never know.
Hmm.
And people trust people with plans. If I walk into a donor meeting and I sit down and after I've gotten to know you and Lucy, we're having coffee and I said, "Gosh, that I noticed you said that you dropped your child off at camp this year and how your daughter could not wait to see her other friends at camp and that they've grown up together." I said, "That's exactly the kind of services we provide at this camp, except the kids sometimes they can't afford it. And you're giving another child the same experience that you gave your child. But I can't
Mm,
do that if I don't know you and I don't have a plan.
mm.
Mm.
I don't know." It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I could talk about programming, I could talk about numbers, I could talk about the plan."
Mm. How would you I guess, how would you handle it if there was no plan? Or, let's say because obviously in this current environment, it's very chaotic, it's hard to know a plan for the future. Or as your example, like, we're not near our milestone, we're actually pretty far off, and we're actually way behind. How would you then, um, navigate that when you don't have a plan?
Great question. So this is where you start to see how a people pleaser handles a situation like that. I'm sorry, how a person who loves to please finds themselves in a situation like that, whereas the leader may not.
Hmm.
A person with boundaries may not. Let's say they're an emerging leader. How I handle that as someone who is a people pleaser is very simple. I start the blame game.
Mm.
Well, my teammate and, leadership and that other board member. And I mean, my cat would stop pushing my cereal off the table every day. That's actually a thing. I actually had somebody say that to me. If I, being dead serious, if
I believe it.
so it's a blame game, and that usually happens after that cycle. So here's, if you think about the fundraising cycle, cultivation, solicitation, stewardship, rinse, repeat. When you look at the donor, let me take another step back. When you look at the development specialist, CDO, or VP of institutional advancement, when you look at their cycle every fiscal year or every 3 years, the person who is seasoned or is an emerging leader, they start the collaborative process 3 to 4, maybe even 5 months before that fiscal year. And they start talking to the stakeholders and they start gathering best practices or what I like to call proven methods. Then they start they gather all this information in their talks with leadership because leadership's going to just do what? They're going to decide the annual goal.
Mhm.
So they can give them this information to help them devise a goal that is achievable. It's not I in the IUI, impossible. Then the plan is distributed to the team, and the team starts working on the plan. Then the leadership within fundraising updates leadership, paid and volunteer. And then we start collecting data for the metrics, and then we deliver the results. If you did not hit your goal, you know why, you know how, you take ownership, you're ready to go with next year's plan. This is what we're going to do differently. Chris, bring all that crowdfunding talk with you. Let's try that. You're ready to go. Looks very different if you like to please people. You're going to
Mm.
sit down with Chris in leadership. You're going to go along with his game plan. You don't know if it's a proven method. If it works, what happens? Then you're going to just go trickle out to the team or you're gonna run in and say, we're gonna this is the new play of the day, and it's gonna change because you don't have a plan. And then
Mm.
sporadically, you're only gonna update leadership on the good news. So if you don't have any, they
Mm.
don't hear from you. And then the metrics, the data hasn't been collected. So then when it comes time to owning the results or chucking the results, you chuck the results. I literally had a leader blame you the postal service for not believe that they didn't deliver the mail. That's why
Mm.
a mailer did not do well, did not take ownership. Okay.
Mm.
So those cycles look very different. Very
Ugh.
different.
Angela, I'm gonna have you be my coach for a minute here. And I had a VP one time. We were talking about creating this project, and I told him the way you want to do this is impossible. It won't work this way to do it. And he said to me, "We make the impossible happen every day here." How would you respond to that statement?
It's not unusual to hear that in the world of nonprofit.
That's right.
In the world of corporate, if we make the possible happen every day, you have Mark Zuckerberg money. You have one of the Magnificent Seven organizations, Amazon, Meta,
Yeah.
Tesla. You have that money. They're making the impossible happen with AI every day, but they
Mhm.
are sinking in billions of dollars. They're poaching each other's
Yeah.
resources, the people. So there's funding, there's resources, and everybody's behind them.
Mhm.
All right. So there's
Yep.
research, funding, and support. That's how you make the impossible happen. If you do not have resources, support, and funding, the impossible is a whisper. It is a dream, a fever dream, and it's not going to happen. Two, we simply don't play with the kind of money in the nonprofit world to make the impossible happen.
Mhm.
We do not. Near me in Columbus,
Right.
Ohio, I'm based out of Cleveland. New Albany has, I think, one or two, maybe even $3 billion plus AI centers, data centers that are being
Mm.
thrown up. That's the kind of money to make the impossible happen. We have, ooh, let's sit down and think about it and have a concrete plan type of money. That's what we have. And when we understand that, um,
Mm.
I say that because when you put a price tag on the impossible, conversations shift. So I don't tell people no, I tell them what it costs.
Mm.
So, hey, VP, I agree. So, the price tag that I came up with for this new program, for this new initiative, for this new building, for this new this is $20 million. Currently, we have 15,000 people in our CRM, of which 500 are active, of which our largest gift to date is $5,000. So, in order to do that, we're going to have to hire a consulting firm, and that first agreement is going to be in the six figures alone.
Mhm.
What cost structure should that come out of?
Mhm.
We don't have that kind of money, but that's what it would take for the impossible. We're just going to have to work with what we have. That's great. Why don't we align the goals with what we have? Well, we'll just get somebody else to do it. And that's where your boundaries are in. I think that's fair.
Nice. Love it.
Mhm.
Love it. Wish you were my coach when that was happening.
We make the impossible happen. This is a Disney World. So
I I didn't even have a response in the moment. I just sat there and I said, "I guess so. All right."
sure, let me get my magic wand out. But again, that VP may not have known, to that person's credit, about fundraising, how it works, what their role is in that. Did you know the board's fiscally responsible for an organization? So that advancement team, that development team, they're the ones that keep the gears grinding every day and turning of development,
Mm,
but it's the board in those smaller organizations that help make the ass.
mm, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I actually so what I did was I actually started meeting with him, like, biweekly to update him on this project's status,
Mhm,
and the more he saw of what we were doing, the
mhm.
more he was like, "Okay, that won't work."
You said, "Okay." And Chris, I'm glad you brought that up. Um, Sometimes advancement, development, fundraising, whatever the iteration is in your house, is so far down the hallway. People just walk past. They think they're in there partying, planning galas, going and having martini lunches with donors. No,
Mhm.
they're l they're in there making the impossible happen with the resources, the support, and the funding that they have. I look at major gift officers and people who are on those front lines, and my heart just goes out to them because sometimes, Chris and Lucy, they get beat up by the donor, then they go back in house and they get beat up by the board or leadership. So you're getting,
Mm,
you're getting two
both.
blows coming at
Yeah.
you at once. So I think that was great that you sat down and said, "Look at all the blows I've been I've been hit with lately." And it helps them to see that this is a real thing. This, yeah,
Yeah,
this is our work.
absolutely.
Ouch. And that's not easy to be in between those camps and getting the blows. And I would get back to then self leadership. Um, you mentioned even before that it's part of the nervous system, it's the response to people pleasing. What supported you, or what would be your advice for somebody that's noticing that they have these people pleasing tendencies?
So for people, and that I would estimate a good 50% of the industry, and I'm being
Oh,
conservative. I'm
mm,
being very conservative. Um,
Mm,
it depends on what your goals are. If you want to stay at your position and you are very satisfied with your position and you know, either you're close to retirement or you decide you don't want to move up or you're going to change industries, I wouldn't worry about it. I would,
mm,
if you don't have aspirations for leadership, you're probably in a safe space unless it is hurting you. First, I would not go at this alone. I would get help. I would join. There are groups of people online and affinity groups that do a great job of addressing these types of situations where you can talk to others. All right. So
mm,
you find those in professional development groups. That is your first line of defense. Professional development enables you to figure out how to do your job. So, therefore, you know where to set a boundary. Without professional development, I don't know how to fundraise. So, what boundaries am I setting?
mm,
In an example of not knowing a boundary that needs to be set in IUI, illegal, unethical, or impossible, is you're working with a donor and they're giving you money for a scholarship, and then you allow that donor to pick the scholar,
mm,
the recipient of the scholarship. According to IRS tax laws, you can't do that.
mm,
So if you allow that and you don't have boundaries in place and you don't inform leadership, you could potentially get the organization and this individual into trouble. So your boundaries keep everybody safe, to be honest with you.
mm,
But you wouldn't know that unless you had professional development. I recommend taking the CFRE. CFRE is about 80 to 100 hours of study, but you learn everything you need to know how to do your job.
mm.
And you join this community with other people who are just as invested in doing it right and not just being someone who's taking orders from the board, because there's a difference.
Yep.
So once you figure what the
Mm,
boundaries you need, um, there's personal development. If you can afford an executive coach, I would think about that. If you would like to join other communities, you can learn of those on LinkedIn and online, where you can talk with people who are on a similar journey. The one thing I am very adamant about is please stop blaming others and take accountability. That is before professional development, it's that take accountability, professional development, and then hang out with other people who also take accountability. But what do we do after work? We complain. What do we do at lunch? We get together with other people
vent. Yeah.
and we complain and the whining sounds so normal that when somebody corrects it, we get our noses bit out of joint. Like it is so normal to
Mm,
whine. We have memes around it. Instagram, TikTok, everything. I hate my boss. I hate my job. Da, 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 da. A lot of those situations could be solved with boundaries and some professional development, but it's so easy now to whine about it.
Hmm.
And I don't say I have been in some situations where I was not only whining, I was crying out of pain. It was bad. I do not want to diminish those types of toxic work atmospheres. We're not talking about those. I'm talking about, Lucy, you start talking about your boss. I start talking about my boss. Chris joins in, da 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 da, and we're not getting anything done. We're not growing up that ladder.
That's right. Yep.
Makes sense.
Angela, let's assume somebody skipped the entire first half of this episode,
Hmm.
skip this episode and skip the entire first 20 minutes of it and said, I'm just going to start playing the episode from right here, right now.
Hmm.
What are the 1 to 2 big takeaways you'd hope they walk away with?
Okay, I would. Thank you so much for this opportunity to kind of summarize what we've talked about today. Boundaries are an inside job. No one can force you to have boundaries. People can snarkily suggest you need to give some boundaries, but boundaries are our responsibility. Boundaries help
Mm,
us regulate our big emotions. Boundaries help us clearly see challenging situations for what they are, if they're really challenging or if we made too much out of it. And boundaries stop situations from occurring. And that is an inside job. Boundaries start when you start on the professional development path, because then you figure out where you need boundaries, who you need to set a boundary with. And three, if you want to learn more, join professional development groups, AFP, AHP case, and sit with other leaders. Listen to how they talk. Listen to how they take accountability. Listen to how they take responsibility. And four, I have a program coming out soon, hopefully by the first quarter of 2026. Boundaries, how to set your boundaries. This is the first portion of it. And the second one is how to stay in a boundary, a support group
mm,
for that, because it can be difficult once you set it.
nice. Love that. And you also have a book coming out too, right?
Yes, it's
Tell the
again,
people about your book.
so it's the ABCs of boundaries. And so I've
Nice.
it started off with just one word per letter. Now it's gotten into multiple words. So the premise of this book, Chris and Lucy, is to break down the cliches in the way they're very easy to understand. A lot of times we talk about boundaries as a should, and you should have them like it's an American, as American as apple pie. They are not.
Mm,
We talk about why you should have boundaries. Like A is for accessibility. Maybe you're too accessible. Should everybody have access to your calendar?
mm.
What's your email? What's your email signature telling people? I'm open 24/7. No, let's dwindle down that accessibility. So understanding and walking through some of the cliches, but in an ABC format. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And can people get it anywhere, or is it only through your website?
It'll be through my website. So
Okay.
as soon as that's done, again, like we're looking at the first quarter of 2026. And hopefully, you know what, Chris would love to come back and for the launch and talk more about
Yeah.
it and give people more information.
We'd love to have you back. I think we can always talk more about boundaries here. Go through
Absolutely.
more scenarios.
It's so great talking to you too. Your work is needed in this space. People now understand how to have difficult conversations because of you too. I love reading about difficult conversations Thursday, because there's always something that I pick up from there. So please, please, please keep up the great work.
Angela, thank you so much for being on here. It was really helpful and enlightening for us.
Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome. Thanks so much.